HOA Karen called the cops when I moved my daughter's things into our cabin. I banned her. HOA. Have you ever been screamed at by a total stranger for carrying your kid's teddy bear? I was halfway up the stone steps of our family cabin, arms full of dusty boxes and dreams, when a shrill voice sliced through the air like a fire alarm. You can't move in. That violates Article 3A, subsection 12. I turned, sweaty and stunned, and that's when I saw her. Arms folded, lips pursed like she just sucked on a lemon wedge. Her sun visor tilted like a crown of judgment. And her body? A looming presence blocking half the gravel road. She was big, angry, and completely confident she ran this mountain. "I'm sorry, who are you?" I asked, adjusting the box that held my daughter's soccer cleats and a picture of her late mother. "I'm Karen Thistlewood, Vice President of the Timber Pines, HOA, she declared, voice shaking with authority. "And this cabin is not approved for full-time use." I blinked. "This is my property. I inherited it from my father. We're just moving my daughter in for the school year." Karen scoffed, already dialing her phone. "Then you can explain that to the sheriff." And just like that, she called 911 on me for moving my own daughter's clothes into my own cabin. Let me back up. This all started when I finally decided to honor my dad's legacy. After he passed, I promised to keep our cabin going and to give my daughter Emma a place where she could feel grounded. Her wife had passed the year before. Emma needed roots, not another sterile rental. So I fixed up the place, made it safe, moved our stuff from storage. Apparently, that decision offended the mountain god Saka Karen and her clipboard army. Within 15 minutes of her call, a sheriff's SUV pulled up, lights off but curiosity on full blast. Deputy Monroe stepped out, polite but wary. "Sir, are you the property owner?" "Yup. Jason McCauley. Got the deed in my truck if you want it." Karen interrupted. "He's illegally occupying a recreational dwelling. That cabin is for weekend use only. It's in the HOA charter." I opened the tailgate and handed Monroe a dusty folder. Inside, a notarized deed, utility bills, and a historic exemption letter signed by the State Conservation Board. Turns out, my grandfather's original land grant from the 1940s excluded our cabin from the HOA boundaries. My father had kept it a secret, probably to avoid this exact insanity. Monroe whistled. "Looks like you're not under their jurisdiction." Karen's face tightened. "That can't be right. I have maps. I have paperwork. I measured his chimney height last week." Monroe turned to her, patient but stern. "Ma'am, this is a civil matter. You're not allowed to harass private citizens." Karen fumed. "He's a danger to the community. There's no HOA-approved fire extinguisher. He has a dog that barks. His daughter rode her bike without reflective gear." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That evening, Emma and I shared cocoa on the porch, watching the sunset bleed through the pines. For a moment, things felt right. But Karen wasn't done. The next morning, I found a laminated cease and desist notice taped to our door sign by the HOA president. It claimed we were endangering local wildlife, violating noise ordinances, and threatening visual harmony. The cherry on top? A $2,300 non-compliance fine. I snapped. That night, I dug through my dad's old metal filing cabinet and found something glorious. A legal map from 1987 with boundary lines highlighted in red. Our cabin? Way outside the HOA. I cross-referenced it with GIS maps and a court ruling from 1992 involving another neighbor who'd fought the man one. But here comes the twist. I discovered something else in those files. Karen's house was built partially on conservation land, a sliver protected wetland she had illegally paved over for her patio yoga deck. Oh, the irony. I sent an anonymous tip to the county environmental board. 2 weeks later, an investigator showed up, clipboard in hand, while Karen was mid-downward dog. She screamed that it was harassment. The county official calmly measured, photographed, and issued a stop work order. Then came the real twist. Karen, in a frantic effort to prove she was in the right, held a town meeting in the HOA's multi-use event pavilion and tried to pass an emergency bylaw extending HOA jurisdiction retroactively over all cabins within 2 miles of the lake. Problem was the meeting wasn't just attended by her friends. I showed up, and so did the original founder of the HOA, Mr. Delaney, a quiet, retired surveyor in his 70s. He hadn't attended a meeting in years, but I had mailed him the original maps and asked for help. He stood up at the end of Karen's monologue and said, "I designed the original lots. Jason's land has never been within timber pines. And if you try to absorb his property now, that's land fraud." You could hear a pin drop. Karen stood frozen, then started shrieking, "You're all against me. This whole town has gone to hell. He moved in a child. He hangs wind chimes." Someone coughed. Someone else chuckled. Delaney nodded at me and said, "Jason, you got that deed handy?" I handed it over. Delaney lifted it and said, "Motion to officially recognize this property as outside HOA control." Hands shot up. Every single one. Karen lost it. She stormed out, knocking over the podium, screaming something about lawsuits and conspiracy. But the kicker? She forgot her folder of evidence on the table. Inside was an actual letter from a lawyer denying her prior claim to my cabin dated 6 months ago. She knew she had no power. She just wanted to scare me off. That night, I filed a formal complaint with the county against the HOA for harassment. I also sent a certified letter banning all HOA business from entering my property, ever. The sign on our front gate now says, "No trespassing private land, HOA prohibited." Even Emma made a little painted sign with a smiley face. "Welcome to Freedom Cabin." And Karen? She's under county investigation for violating land trust laws. Her yoga deck is gone. Her power is crumbling. And guess what? 3 other homeowners on the HOA board just resigned. Turns out I wasn't the only one she bullied. And we're just getting started. 2 weeks after the HOA meeting, a new kind of silence fell over Timber Pines. Not peace. Not yet. More like the quiet before a controlled burn a moment you know something toxic is finally being cleared out for good. Karen had gone dark. No porch patrols. No flyers. No angry Facebook posts demanding someone take down a wind spinner or repaint their fence. The woman who once strutted around the neighborhood with a walkie-talkie and measuring tape had disappeared behind closed blinds. But her legacy? Still stinking up the place. Turns out, during her years as HOA VP, Karen had pushed through nearly 87 punitive bylaw amendments, many of which weren't even legal under the county's land code. Things like mailbox alignment penalties and authorized garden gnome quotas. She even fined a neighbor $500 for painting his shutters too bold. It was time to clean house. I didn't set out to lead a movement, but when folks started showing up at my cabin with folders, receipts, and printed out text from Karen, I couldn't ignore it. One woman, Lila, broke down, crying on my porch. Karen had threatened to revoke her driveway access over visible compost bins. A Vietnam vet named Ron showed me a $1,200 decor violation for flying a Marine Corps flag on the wrong day. These are good people humiliated, extorted, bullied. So we made a plan. A small task force of affected homeowners banded together, calling ourselves the Cabin Coalition. Our goal? Dismantle Karen's empire, one paper trail at a time. We contacted a land use attorney from out of town, a real bulldog named Janet Grover. Sharp eyes, sharper tongue. After seeing our evidence, she said, "You've got a case for HOA abuse of power, fraud, and conspiracy to harass. You ready to go scorched earth?" We were. Janet filed a lawsuit on behalf of 14 homeowners. The charges range from unlicensed fines to misuse of funds and obstruction of property rights. And just when I thought this couldn't get more satisfying, another twist. Janet subpoenaed the HOA's treasury records and discovered that Karen had funneled over $43,000 into a wellness budget used solely to finance her yoga patio, spa candles, and a monthly masseuse for her executive stress. She paid for all of it with HOA dues. When that made the local paper, the floodgates burst. Homeowners who had stayed silent out of fear came pouring forward. Photos, emails, secret audio recordings. One resident even had dashcam footage of Karen threatening to sue the trees for dropping leaves on her car. Public opinion turned hard and fast. By month's end, Karen was formally removed from her post. Not a resignation, a removal. The county ordered a full audit. Her name became synonymous with suburban tyranny. But poetic justice? That came during the court hearing. Karen tried to claim she was misunderstood. I was simply trying to uphold standards. I was protecting the value of our community. The judgy, an older gentleman with no patience for nonsense, interrupted. Ms. Thistlewood, how exactly does banning teddy bears and compost protect value? Karen opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She was fined $68,000 in damages, ordered to pay restitution, and the HOA placed under third-party oversight for 2 years. All bylaws she pushed through during her term invalidated. Emma and I stood outside the courthouse when it was over. She slipped her hand in mine. So are we safe now? I nodded. We're free. Later that week, I hosted a small barbecue at the cabin. Just friends, neighbors, and ex-victims of the HOA. Emma handed out marshmallows while Ron played banjo. We even invited Elaney, the HOA founder, who toasted with root beer and said, "This is what the mountains were always meant to be." The new HOA board? Transparent, limited, accountable. And Karen? She moved 2 towns over. Rumor has it, she tried to run for HOA president again, but this time, the neighborhood Googled her name. Nobody even let her pass the first meeting. Sometimes the law brings justice. Sometimes a community does. And sometimes it takes one father and his daughter to turn a cabin into a revolution. Was it right to stand up, expose the lies, and burn her paper kingdom to the ground? Or should we have just stayed quiet like so many before us? You tell me, right or wrong. The end.